Hello, I'm going to talk about cis5308 report 2. Just a quick overview regards to the requirements and expectations for the case study. I organized the Zoom session for a report 1 discussion, but some of the feedback that I received was it was a combined session for postgrad and undergrad courses. So I thought I'd just do a quick short video to discuss the key requirements for postgrad students in a quick small recording. So I just gonna focus on that in this particular video. Some of these requirements are familiar to you. It's 25% weightage, 4,000 is the word limit, and 15th of May is when the assignment is due. One key difference is obviously it's a teamwork. So you're encouraged to work in a team. So you're encouraged to do it in a group of 2. You cannot have more than 2 students, but you can have 2 students. And whilst you can do it individually, it is possible. You will not be penalized, but it is recommended, highly recommended to do it in a group of 2 because of the workload, and you can share the workload. Okay, so please look at that requirement. Other than that, I think you're well familiar with other requirements as we've released the marks for the first assignment too. And the second assignment, well, the first assignment was looking into a video case study, but the second one is asking you to review a particular written case study, which is this one, the ITIL Service Management Improvement Journey. So if you click this link, I've opened it up for you. It's not a very long case study, so it's nice and easy, but you'll have to do more than looking into the obvious. You have to critically analyze some of these questions to answer the specifications in the report. You're well familiar with the report structure and everything, so make sure if you're working on a team, your name and the student number of both of the students must appear in the title page, both of the students, and both of you will get the same marks. So it's very important you specify it here. Your report should include an introduction to the report. So the introduction should provide an overview of the relevant case study, which is this one. So the background story of this particular case. I'm going to discuss this in detail, so I'll skip that for now, just to quickly check what's the remaining bits. So obviously summarize the key lessons learned in the case study and include recommendations for further service improvement at Zurich. So that's the final analysis of your report, referencing requirements, at least 10 academically sound resources, and appendix attachment like you have done it in assignment in your report 1. So please follow the similar structure and similar submission requirements, but obviously the main difference is here. So I'm going to focus on this one. So I'll just quickly show you what this case study is all about. It's a case study of IT service management improvement at Zurich. Zurich is one of the largest insurance groups in the world. It's truly global. It has more than 60,000 staff, so it's really big organization. And it was going through a change in the structure and going through they've established a new European Center of Excellence, COE. And with the development of that Center of Excellence, they were planning to coordinate IT services at the same time they were trying to improve the way they deliver service. So, and they were trying to merge their operations with an IT outsourcing partner. So there were a lot of organizational structural changes that was happening. And in order to understand, before they sort of plan their improvement, what they wanted to do was they wanted to evaluate the current status of their existing processes, and then use the finding of that to improve, to inform the direction, improve service in the right direction. So it talks about what happened, how they started, what were the processes. See, this paragraph is quite important. What they're saying is, in October 2008, Pink Elephant is the name of the company, the consultant. It's a case study from Pink Elephant. So they are the consultants who are delivering IT service management improvement project. So Pink Elephant visited the COE to benchmark for process assessment. Four processes: incident management, change management, problem management, availability management. These are processes from ITIL. And also an assessment of service level and configuration management and service level management were also undertaken. So in total, there are 6 processes that are involved here for assessment. So they did an assessment. It talks about how the assessment was undertaken. And then the results confirmed that they had a good foundation, but there were things that they could improve on. And then from that outcome of the assessment, they worked on a high impact service improvement project, how they use the recommendations from the assessment to improve their process maturity as well as service improvement. And it tells a success story of how the process improvement enabled, and they were moving in the right direction. Availability was consistent, KPI was improved, backlogs are reduced, incident resolution is much more faster. So all the positive feedback from the business customers. So because they've seen such a massive improvement in their services, they actually undertook another assessment. So just in 18 months time, they looked at another assessment to see how well they have improved. So looking into the future, they are currently working on second pink scan report, which is the second process assessment, to see how they've improved, to continually improve and go to the next stage of ITIL journey, which is more like continual service improvement philosophy. So that's the case study, and the questions relate to these concepts. So the first question, the first section, is where the case study demonstrates that process maturity assessments reported during service improvements. Based on the examples in the case study, identify 3 ITIL processes where improvements can be verified. You need to identify 3 processes where ITIL can be verified that you can find from the case study. Needless to say, the processes that were involved in assessment are these 6 processes. So the 3 ITIL processes that you must identify must be from these 6, because these are the ones that are clearly stated as the ones that have been assessed. So the processes where improvement can be verified must be one of those where the assessment were conducted, which is one of those 6. So make sure you select 3 from those 6. Discuss those selected processes and what are their KPIs. You can find this KPI information from ITIL framework and also from other relevant sources, and how they can be successfully implemented. How were they successfully implemented in the case study? What were the outcomes, as it's discussed here? The second question, the head of service management at the ECOE stated that the first step in their journey, was to understand where they stand today. So they talk about this here. The first step in our journey was to understand precisely where we stood today. Which service lifecycle can undertake this requirement? So there are 5 ITIL service lifecycle. Which service lifecycle is actually responsible for these activities to improve the journey, to understand where you stand today? It's the last one, which is the continual service improvement. So even though we haven't discussed this formally in a module, I will make the module available so you can have a look at what it is. But it's actually quite a simple life cycle. It has one process, which is a 7-step service improvement, continual service improvement process. You need to understand that process and see how it links to answer this question. How is this typically executed according to ITIL best practices? I'll just Google ITIL CSI and then look at a diagram for that. So yeah, this diagram. So this particular diagram shows you the 7 steps. Identify the strategy for improvement, and you'll find it in ITIL. Just trying to open this up. There you go. So you can look at this. Identify the strategy for improvement. Define what you will measure. So what you're going to measure, what are the processes that you're going to measure, what are the aspects of the process that you're going to measure, and then gather the data. What kind of data, what kind of aspects of the process? Are you trying to look at the maturity of the process in terms of what? In terms of meeting the objectives, in terms of performance, different performance criteria based on the KPIs of the process. Then you process the data, how frequently you're going to receive the data, how are the activities performed, analyze those data to kind of present that in a nice assessment summary to identify what are the areas for improvement, and then implement those improvements, and the cycle repeats. So that's like a continual service improvement process, and you can clearly discuss that as part of answering this question. With references from the case study talks about such kind of continual journey, because remember, there was one initial assessment done, then the service improvement project was undertaken, and after 18 months, a second assessment was done. So that shows a cycle of how you measure, improve, and measure a continual service improvement life cycle. So that's what you need to explain with the reference from the case study. The third one is is an interesting question. It's actually asking you to think beyond what you can study in this, what you can find in the case study and what you can study as part of the ITIL guidelines. The case study argues that process improvement equals service improvement. Throughout this case study, they talk about improving the processes, and they say that when you improve the process, service will also improve. A strong evidence is provided for this position. So you can see here, that's what the position is. And it's actually true. You can say that process improvement will enable service improvement, but there are some debate around it in industry. It's not always true that the process improvement improves service improvement. There are other factors beyond processes that are also important for service improvement. So the question is, identify at least one reference. It could be another case study, it could be an academic article or industry report that challenges this position, that challenges that process improvement equals service improvement, and present at least two key arguments to suggest that process improvement is not equal to service improvement. That is, service improvement is more than just process improvement. So you need to think about this. You need to critically analyze, when you need to improve the service, is it really only the process that you can improve and that will lead to the service improvement, or are there other things? And I believe there are other things like culture. The organizational culture has to improve also for service improvement. So not only the process, the organizational culture, you can also think of IT references, your IT structural reference, your IT references, IT management structure reference has to be optimized also. So you can refer to IT for that. Organizational culture, skills assessment, human resource management. There are other elements that needs to be improved for service improvement, not just the process. You can discuss some of these elements, and that will be this. So it's more of a question where you need to think outside of the box, think beyond the processes, think of other service management components like management responsibility, documentation requirements, and so forth. Think beyond that, beyond the processes, to see how they are important to improve the service management. Okay, you can bring in the concept of service management from service management systems from the ISO 20000 also here. So that's the main area. Other than that, I think other sections of this assignment are pretty similar to what you have studied before. And I wish you all the best with this assignment, and all the best for the remainder of this course. Thank you.